So you can't even enjoy your football. So can anxiety be inherited genetically? Yes, it can. So research actually shows that close relatives with anxiety problems might increase your chances of experiencing anxiety problem itself. This is normally called anxiety and sensitivity. Our past or childhood experiences. Um, if you had like a tough time growing up, if you got abused, you know, if
or childhood experiences. If you had like a tough time.
Sorry. So if you're through stress and trauma when you're young, perhaps your house got burned down, something tragic happened, water might to ulienda mtoni, then somebody like drowned, such trauma and stress can really like impact and physical or emotional abuse. If you're physically abused when you're growing up or even emotionally, people think, for example, abuse is your kuchapa peke not really necessarily. It's also, that abuse your kutukano, it really impacts you when you grow older and the stuff maybe your parents said. So it does, even your teachers, what they said to you, it does impact your life and when you grow older, neglect, if you're abandoned, it can cause those anxiety moments. If you like, you can't be a mother, losing a parent at a young age, or you feel you'll be anxious. Being bullied in school, very common at my time, but anyway. The form one when you went to school, you were bullied, so you're really anxious. People didn't want to go back to school. Opening time, it was a very anxious moment for so many people. I'm not sure if it happens now, but yeah, it was quite not a happy moment when you're going back to school. And in school, there's always the clique, the silos. They moved in silos, so you're socially excluded. So you didn't belong to the cool group. So it affects you. It affects your confidence. You're constantly anxious. If your parents didn't treat you warmly or they were very overprotective, lazima uvae hivi ukienda, so kila saa lazima uvae suti kutoka kwa mlango. All those things. It does have an effect. So your past experiences, they do your current life situation, like I was saying, it can happen at any time, whether you're young, middle class, or at when you're older. Exhaustion or a build-up of stress. So if you're stressed out, of course you're going to be anxious. Lots of change or uncertainty, for example, with COVID right now, jobs. So you don't know where you're gonna be. So it's quite an anxious moment for everybody. But the fact that you're the breadwinner and you have to put like food on the table and you can't do that. So it does. It will. Your parents are not going to be. They're constantly going to be anxious all the time, panic. So feeling under pressure when you're studying or in work because you have to attain, for example, class 8 and the form 4s, the pressure that they're being put, it's quite immense, education is the key to success, they're going through all these other traumas and everything, and the expectation is so high, like you need to get A, you need to go to nice schools and secondary and university. So it's anxious, doing long hours with no breaks, being out of work for a long time. So the skill that you've learned, money problem, housing, or being homeless. If I'm homeless, of course, I'm going to be anxious. Where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to get food? What happens to me when I'm outside? Worrying about the environmental or natural disaster, and sometimes called climate anxiety or eco anxiety. If we don't do this, something tragic is going to. We need to prepare. We need to build tunnels underneath our houses just to foresee, even though maybe God knows come after one another. Anyway, losing someone close to you, bereavement. If you've lost somebody, and that you are close to, your parents, it causes the emotions. Feeling lonely or isolated, being abused, being bullied or harassed. So the physical, the mental health problems. So physical problems living with a serious ongoing life-threatening physical condition can sometimes trigger. For example, if I have a disability, it's going to trigger my anxiety every time I want to walk out of the door. Are the roads okay? Can I, wheel my wheelchair? The services, are they friendly? Can I just go to the bank? Wakuna mahali ya kuingia for the disability people and disabled people? Really, I haven't seen any, but it's very anxious if you're a disabled person and you have to run your errands. Other mental health problems, it's also common to develop anxiety when you other mental health problems such as depression. So it's very common like to have depression and have anxiety or have schizophrenic and also be anxious. So there can be a correlation with that. If you're also abusing drugs and medication, psychiatric medication, of course, it's going to have an impact on your anxiety. Recreational drugs, mabani, cocaine, so it will have an impact on your mental health and specifically your anxiety because you constantly want to stay on a high. And so, how can I help myself when I'm very, very anxious? Talk to someone that you trust. The statistic shows that there's that relief that you feel when you talk to someone, and you feel that someone actually cares. So that empathy is great when you're anxious and someone is like, "Don't worry, slow down. Why are you feeling the way you're feeling? Don't worry, nothing is going to happen through that alleyway. Let's walk through that alleyway together." Trying to manage your worries. How can you manage your worries if it's too much? Write something on the notebook or do like a glass jar. Put nicer things about yourself. One ticket to just, to take away the thought of what you're feeling or what you're thinking and looking after your physical health, making sure that you're getting enough sleep, you're getting enough rest, we are also eating healthy, body, mind, and soul. What we feed ourselves, how we look after ourselves, it's the total aspect of health, social, mental, and just not eating and sneaking and absence of like diseases. So it's also important to look after our health in terms of like sleeping, what we are eating, a balanced diet, and physical activity. Even though you're not a runner like myself, just going for like a walk, 30, 20 minutes a day, just changing the scenery, trying breathing exercise, breathing and out, pole pole too. You can, just to help you be more in control, find yourself, take away your mind from worry. Keep a diary. A diary is good because it will help you establish why you feel the way you feel, what triggered how you felt. So it can be a way like, okay, scare me that, or if I experience this, this is how I feel. So writing it down helps you remember, like, scare me, then you know what to do. Try peer like support, your friends, shule, guidance and counseling, just or people with similar. If I have anxiety, you have depression, and we're talking to each other, makes the conversation a little bit easier. Complementary and alternative therapies like yoga, meditation, massage, just something to relax and really helps like your mental health and especially like when you're coping with anxiety. What are the alternative treatments, self-help and resources? So for example, there is like free courses about cognitive behavioral therapy. It's called CBT. Helps you understand how you feel, why you feel the way you feel, and how you react. It's like a chart. So it shows like a pattern. So it's like alternative. So it now tries to redirect you in an anti-cycle kind of way. So okay, don't feel this, but you feel this. Let's approach it from a different way. So it's an alternative treatment. Talking therapy. These are like For example, the relaxation therapy, massage, yoga, finding even toward the center of the chaos in your head, finding that quiet moment and to just not worry about what you're thinking. And of course, medicalization like the antidepressants or the pregabalin that also treats seizures. So some people they can be super anxious when they're having like proper seizures. So family and friends, pressure. For example, in school, there's so much pressure on to perform better. Um, to get those A's and they're really great, but what are the impacts that they have on our mental health? So perhaps, understanding and also not kila mtu si sawa, if hata vidole hazitoshani. So I think also understanding our children capability, helps take away that pressure and the expectation. Trying to understand, ask someone about their experience, find out as much as you can about anxiety. If I come and I say I have anxiety, try to learn from it and what are my experiences. You understanding what anxiety is helps the conversations easier, help me feel and being I'm not being judged, I'm not baby. It comes to that being kind, empathy, approaching from an empathy perspective, being non-judgmental. Oh, we do and I watches, I would feel like not it's not really clear very much. And I think not really they're really anxious. It's a serious mental health issue. So approaching it from a kind perspective and empathy, being non-judgmental, asking how you can help someone with anxiety. If you can't help them, direct them to where they can get help. Reminding them just to breathe, even to the simple exercise, breathing in and out, 5 minutes makes all the difference. And looking after yourself as well. While as much as you want to support me with my anxiety, it's also important to look after yourself, making sure you're not draining the purpose too much. And that is the end of my anxiety. So do you have any questions for me?
Towards for the family and friends, is it advisable to ask them or to wait for them to talk it
out? It can work both ways depending whether that person is. So that helps you understand. I think also knowledge is as trying to find out, trying to understand where that person is coming from. You're comfortable talking about it is part of healing. Forgiving yourself, being kind to yourself, sometimes they victim blame that we blame ourselves, it's my fault. I was a naughty child, I was this, this is why I was treated in this manner. But not necessarily you're just a child, what happened. So I think also being kind, doing those alternative yoga, trying to find that peace and tranquility in the midst of the chaos in your head. You can do so CBT, knowing what triggers those emotional, because you could be in a nice setup and then someone says something and then it triggers everything. So having in the morning, trying to find your peace and tranquility on courses like the CBT, yoga, some of those. But it's a journey, it's a process, and you have to know basically.
I'm wondering, in a situation where you are constantly kind of conditions,
So I didn't
like your condition. Can you give an example? Is a mother has a disabled child, and she's always that kind of a situation anxious about what's going to happen to this child all through her life. We're sitting here on her sheets. This person, she go through this kind of situation. It's a daily event. It's a daily experience, day and night. So I don't
So with if again that comes from the understanding now that we know actually it's a disorder, it's actually impacting her life because she can't stop worrying about what the child, so we've already established this mental health. So it's her like seeking help, for example, alternative ways, like not to worry the child is going to find. They're constantly like anticipating the worst of the situation. So talking like perhaps to somebody, maybe you're over controlling fear or being protective of the child because they're disabled. Just because they're disabled doesn't mean they're not able. There are things that they can do independently. Trusting the child that they will have like a program either somewhere to mingle like with their friends or at school, taking away your control and that's maybe something that perhaps she enjoys doing, reading, maybe run a marathon or something. I don't know, perhaps not. But something perhaps she enjoys like doing, seeking like the other alternative, maybe to the yoga to relax so that you're not worrying about what will happen or what wouldn't happen like to the child. So the CBT is a perfect, meditative, mindfulness. And it's also finding peace, like trying to find that peace within that chaos of your head. So all those other like alternatives, like funny, and also allowing the child to grow it on their own.
Yeah, and I think there's among the methods she presented there, one very strong one that works for people who have such problems that they cannot keep away from is the peer support. So and we usually see such kind of parents usually form groups where those kinds of children meet and they can share, they strengthen one another, but they also need maybe a counselor in between so that they are able to relieve themselves of the worry and see that they can only do so much and it's not their fault and how the others are. Peer support is usually very, very, very important. Otherwise, we know the problem in our country is, we know in Western countries such people usually get support. They're usually supported. If you have a disabled child or a child with a disability, you give them a car to take them for
extracurricular activities, so they have a program.
There's money.
There's money for
You
that.
don't even have to work if you have such a child.
Because you're a carer.
You are a carer of that child.
The system supports you, especially financially. It's ensured equal your hand, so you're not dipping into your pocket to think. Kuna pia organizations that help disabled carers or people caring for someone with a disability. So it helps because then because you're constantly just asubuhi msichana jioni tuko tu hapo my child asubuhi, you don't also have the time for yourself. That is so good because it's like your life constantly rotates on the program of the child. But akiwachwa aende afanye vitu zingine, you can also look after yourself. you can't pour from an empty cup. You also have to replenish, you have to recharge your battery. You also need to be physically and mentally like healthy for you to also give the best care to that child.
Yeah, and this is why I was saying we are disadvantaged with that our countries, because you find such a child is an extra burden, because you have to fend for yourself. We are hustlers, and then you must go for that way in order to be able to come and feed that child. So it is so tough, but that's why we are saying either ni sisi wenyewe tunajitafutia ambao mnasaidiana, either you make an arrangement on like sometimes they do that. Wanawachia mmoja wengine wanaenda. We can also try that in our country where they can unite with others. Wasikizane pengine nani ataacha na watoto wale wanasaidia. Because that is usually the greatest challenge. How do you provide for food and you have to care for them? Then how do you leave them in order to go and work? That is why they develop those mental conditions. But again, we have seen it's also important that they look for professional help so that where there is a limit as to how much our system or our culture can allow, then you also learn to, to be brave and to accept and be able to move on. It's usually very tough. And they need a lot of support even for us. And I wish if we knew that, even the rest of the people, other than the ones whose children are like that, would be offering to help. But that can only happen if we are free to talk about such issues and such cases freely. Because normally if you have such a child, that has to be addressed for us to be free. Unaambia mtu mama fulani leo siendi, naweza niachia mtoto kama. So that is why we need to have this hope, so that we come in for one another, because our system is not doing it for us, and it is for us to understand we need one another. Ndio mtu aweze kusaidia.
Kuna maswali.
Okay, I'm asking, there goes the separation between the teen labs, and you feel like without that person you cannot trade, and then you try committing suicide, and then it's where now you have to just into something that will keep your mind away from everything that reminds you of the past. So like you just into writing because you believe that that's why you need to be judged. So I'm asking, can that affect your mental health?
In fact, even that taking it like you cannot live without that man or that woman is a mental condition. Because realistically speaking, we say that we can move on. I don't have to depend on somebody. When you mmepatana, mmeingia contract, because I usually say marriages are contracts anyway. I'm usually accused of simplifying it, but that is the reality. Mlipatana watu wawili, watu wazima, na mkafikiria mnaweza kaa pamoja under certain terms. When it doesn't work, it's easy to simply say, like I've gone, because you are there as an individual. It is your peace of mind that is important in the way you are dating. And if you cannot or if she cannot, life does not end there. That is why somebody requires a lot of counseling. See, in fact, this one requires a psychologist. Because you atakufunza vile unaweza kujipenda. Because there is an element of low self-esteem where you usually feel you cannot live unless you are supported by someone. Inakufanya ujikose kwa sababu unajiangalia na macho ya huyo mwenye amekukataa. Na kwa hivyo kama huyo mwenye amekukataa amesema kufai, hata wewe mwenyewe unajisikia kufai. And in fact, this is where most mental health issues start. When we are unable to know how to love ourselves for who we are, and we look at ourselves with the eyes of those others. Yani wale yangu ni huyu ananionaje, anafikiriaje. Na vile unafikiria na kuona unaanza kujiona, hata hajakwambia anakuona hivyo. But wewe mwenyewe unajijazia vile anakuona. So you live like you want to be accepted, kwa hivyo unataka kukaa vile anafikiria. Now there comes a point where you lose yourself. And your self-image is so low that it can only, you can only see yourself in terms of how this one accepts you. So it is a mental condition, and that can be, and in fact not a mental condition, but it can drive you to a mental condition if you entertain that line of thought. So what we are saying, if you find yourself in such circumstances, rather than develop anxiety, because that one that could bring you to suicide or depression, unaelekea huko because of the way you think, the way you relate, the way you take that person. So the sooner you find their problem, start interacting with a counselor, with a priest, with whoever, so that they stop you from going down that lane. Kwa sababu sasa ukifika hiyo lane sasa depression inamaanisha umeruka kiwango from being rejected because you did not feel good enough. Now accepting you're not good enough and feeling there's no life without that person. Kwa hivyo unaenda mapema, unajieleza mapema. And this is the same case. This is what is happening in marriages where people are killing one another. Si unasikia watu wanaambiwa chura ruka. Kuna Wakikuyu wanasema hivyo kiora roga. I don't know whether somebody has ever taken that. But there's a song that is saying, using the example of a frog. Ati kuweka frog kwa karai ya maji inakaa. Kuwekelea hiyo karai kwa moto, ikianza kuwa moto kiasi, inasikia inasimama. Inasikia maji ikiwa moto kabisa, si bado iko kwa maji. Na maji ndio habitat yake. Itafika wakati iruke kutoka kwa hiyo maji. It rather be somewhere without water rather than with water, because that water is already what itamua. So now we have this saying, ukiona moto umezidi, chura ruka. So we are saying, when you find things are not going right, and you know you may then believe with somebody who is also a mental case, who has a mental problem, don't wait for things to go too far. Unapata tunauliwa, tunauana, ama mnakaa na shida for so many years, hata yeye mwenyewe amekuzoea, kwa hivyo siku hiyo utatoka takuwa, because it took so long. So get help first. And getting help does not mean move out of the place. It simply means start getting help as soon as you realize there's a problem. So if you find it somebody is not ready to be helped, tiamini you are better off because you're informed.
Also,
this talk is about empowerment.
Yeah. I'll also add, you have to love yourself more than anybody else. If anything, we're all responsible for ourselves. As our parents, we're all grown up now to be talking about. So it's on you. You have to really love yourself. I know it's really hard, perhaps, with maybe their past experiences, but you have to love yourself. Like, you have to love yourself to take that step.
And also not to worry about, our traditions also tie us. Tunaambiwa mwanamke ni kufikia mwanamke ni kushikilia nyumba yake. So, hiyo ni shida kubwa sana. Halafu ukishatoka unaamini utapata mwingine kwa sababu watu watakuangalia wafikirie wewe ndio ulipata. So they judge the female gender and the male. They would expect the man to move on, lakini wewe unaogopa kutoka, hutaweza move on. Tell yourself, and I usually used to tell them, he was my student in many Ugandans, and I remember I used to challenge them, nawaambia, tell yourself, you are worth more, your value is higher than the one that meant to you. Kuna hiyo mambo tunaamini ambayo inatufunga. I don't know whether you can remember what time I was very mad. One of the teachers, I gave this story, believing in yourself for who you are, not because you are a woman to be supported by a man or protected by a man. And then you are going somewhere with a school bus, mazishi Kakamega, na basi kaenda ikiharibika, na ni basi ya kitabu ambayo inakaa kama mkate. Ile kichwa iko kando na bote kando, hiyo ya zamani. Kwa hivyo ndio mechanic ya yunde, na ni usiku akitoka Kakamega inabidi atoke ndio angushe hiyo kichwa ingia ndani na sisi tuko kwa the rest of the body. And I remember one teacher, in fact not a teacher, sister, but she was a sister. She was a sister because we were in it's a Catholic school. Ambaye alikuwa anasema kwenye tunasimama funga wakora wasiingie, ni usiku. Huyu akitoka kuiunda mfunge kwa sababu wakora wanaweza kuingia. And we were so many women. And I got angry that time, nikasema huyu kijana anatoka kuunda ni mtoto wa mtu. Are you implying that kwa sababu ni kijana yeye aende akapigane na watu tusaidia na sisi tujifungie kwa sababu tuko wanawake? And what might happen if we are? Can we get it out of your mind and say, if I find myself here, we are more than that one man or those two men that will come, even if we are 20 women. We can handle. And I remember I came to school and I said, girls, you disappoint me in marry you. Kama mwanaume ataruka ile fence, aingie kwa dorm, alafu muone kama wale wasichana wa St. Kizito. I don't know how many of you can remember the St. Kizito story, where I think in Ukambani, where 26 girls died for suffocation kwa sababu walikimbilia kona moja juu kuna mwanaume ameingia. It is a whole dormitory, maybe with 100 girls, only 2 men jumped in, and you are killing one another running away rather than going for them and teaching them a lesson. So that was my argument, even at this time. And this is the same thing that make us, girls, and ladies. I'm not being gender discriminative. Swali yake imenifanya niseme hivi. Tujiamini hata tukiwa wanawake, that we can start a flesh. It's not that, and I can start even with a new life, even without this one, because I am whole na Mungu aliniumba nikiwa whole na niko na akili. Because again, another example, I still use the same example. Kwenye tunakutwa na wezi kwa manyumba, siku hizi tunaonaingia sana, na ati tunasema wanawake ni kupika. Is that all we can do? Alafu siku hizi mjue si wanaume wanangojanga. Wakikuja manyumba siku hizi, wanaume wako kwa siri, ameruka, anawaacha. We have so many such cases. Aside from your witness, we have so many such cases. Sasa tunasema ni wakati kina mama wajipange. Wezi wakiingia kwa nyumba, mnajipanga nyinyi wote vile mtapambana na yeye, usikae hapo bwana yako aje akakusaidia with disappointed. In the same way, even in relationships. Ukiona amezidi, usikae hapo ukisema oh me, niliolewa sasa nitakuwa nini? Please get help when it is enough. I don't know whether you have helped your sister. Ukianza kuuliza mawaidha kitambo, utapata utafika hiyo pahali ya fikiria kuwa suicidal. You will be able to be helped before you reach that level.
Also, so if you are a victim of separation, for instance, your parents separated and now life forced you to bear any you don't have the love of one, of maybe your father or your mom. So like you're asking yourself, what will happen in the future? Like, will this affect, for instance, my marriage life, my education life, my personal life? And now you cannot stop worrying because the future that is ahead, and you're afraid of tomorrow, you're afraid of switching on the right. It's better tomorrow doesn't come.
No, you can shape tomorrow, and you can shape the direction of tomorrow from that direction that either your mother passed. If you follow the right advice, because we are saying it is you. In fact, everybody lives for themselves. Time ikifika yako, hautafanya bila mama alifanya, kama hautaendea hiyo path. But we also know we are not ignorant of the fact that people bring you down by telling you, unajua wewe kama mama yako ndio hakupata mwana. Even our spouses usually tell us that. And that is why counseling is important before marriages, before we rush, so that we know the kind of men we are with. We also know the things to look for when we are courting, rather than unajua tumefika pahali msichana akienda analala kwa kijana anasema ameolewa. It happens like that these days. Hata kama wale wasichana walikuwa wamepotea washuhuda, utasikia alikuwa ameolewa. You start why? But that should not be the case. This is why it is important that courtship and counseling takes place before people actually go in. Because during courtship, you know the kind of man you are taking as a partner. Wakati unajua na kuadamai kwa sababu ni mtoto wa sikomani. When you hear their opinion or their attitude towards that, unaenda mapema. Rather than going into that ukijua huyo akili zake anaongea watu na njia hii. Because that is the person that you will have.
So like I'm asking, for instance, you're in school and students will always talk about their parents. So you don't, when it comes to your children, what about your side story? How does it go? And now you're trying to open that question. That
No, it depends again on the group and the school and the group that you move with. Because I love these men these days. Why wanajiita waweroa nyambura? What do you think of waweroa nyambura? You know, we have reached a point where a few tribes na wamechange your mentality. Wakaanza kujiita kitambo walikuwa wanajiita na majina ya kuchapa. Kama wewe wasingomana. Siku hizi wanajiita majina ya mama yake. So it has come to a point where we are now empowered to love ourselves from being children of single mothers. And it is for you to stand up against, feeling like you are being crossed up. Ni wewe utajijaza. And the minute you face them and show them that you are proud for who brought you up. Akiwa peke yake, at least wewe ulidawa na wawili. Unaweza kulinga. Mimi mama yangu ni alinilea peke yake na niko. You learn to love yourself. It is you to fight for yourself, but love yourself. It's not a must that you must be having a father like that one and like the other one. And if you find that it is bothering you, it is important also that you get to a counsel that talks to you and encourages you and empowers you. So that should take you way of thinking. Unaelewa? Kwa sababu kuna wengine ambao hawajali. Si ndio? Ukikuta wewe ni mmoja wa wale wanajali, that is when you need to counsel. So that you don't always feel like you are below the others. But unakuja kujipenda na unasimama against those who feel like you are less than they are. Itabidi utafute usaidizi. And I like our questions because, they portray the way we take things and they take us down because we do not know how to handle them. Now, by asking, and we are saying here, if anybody does not like or tries to make you look down upon yourself because you are not like them, unaenda unauliza, how do I handle this? Utakuwa empowered, utakuwa advised, utajipenda, because what is happening is that inakupatia low esteem kwa sababu kama wale wengine. It means you have a bit of what I said, that some of us look at ourselves with a mirror ya wale wengine. Na kama sifikii standards za wale wengine, najisikia niko down. Lakini you need to be taught how to look at yourself in a value yourself of your worth. You are not what the parents that brought you up. Your value is not based on how many cars or how many visits your parents came to school, or how many brothers that you have. You are who you are as an individual, and you've got to be trained to like yourself and value yourself for who you are. Uwe na mtu, usiwe na mtu, wewe ndio unamata. So it will be that.
And to just add on that as well, the grass is always greener on the other side, just because someone is raised with like both man and the father and the mother. There could be other issues. This man could be also having something on the side. The woman, it's always easy like to say, oh, you're privileged because you come, but not necessarily them themselves with the privilege and being brought up with like both parents, there can be issues. It's just that it's just behind closed doors. We don't really know. So don't envy someone else's life, or don't think, oh, if I had both the mom and the dad, like your future is going to be different. Not really. We don't choose our parents. We don't choose our backgrounds, but we choose our destiny. Fine, you come from a disadvantage, and you come from a disadvantage and background, but that doesn't say you can't be the next. And Uhuru Kenyatta does not mean anything whatsoever. You're just disadvantaged. But you yeah, you choose your destiny. Yeah.
No, yeah.
You talked of some diets that we can avoid.
Hmm?
You talked of some diets,
Yeah.
some foods that we can avoid.
Yeah.
And eradicate some of these problems like forgetting. Which are they?
That can be topic for another day. Well, by which time you can even bring a nutritionist, yeah, sure. Because they'll be able to address common dementia. Unahitaji this, that, and that, because it goes by the blood group, it goes by the kwenye unakaa, kuna vitu nyingi sana. Kwa hivyo hiyo itahitaji a nutritionist in another forum. But there are things that don't avoid this. Kwa sababu chakula iko na chemicals. Na dementia ikikuja, it means your brain, kuna vile wanapima wanajua ni nini imeishaisha kwa brain yako.
My experience with someone that was caring for someone with dementia was avoiding, because it's being forgetful. So trying to learn new things every day. Picking in school, kila kitu, like kila siku, and jiweze, like learn something new, like ama chukua another hobby, something to challenge your mind. Kimbia, get the mind and active. Apparently that's what we do. Yeah, reading.
Keep your brain active.
Yeah.
That is the number one, or even the food.
Yeah.
But should we continue with what we have started, we shall come at it. Otherwise, unajua umesikia mambo mengi ya marenge, mbegu za marenge, umesikia bananas, vitu zinaongeza zile memory, but we need a nutritionist to address that. Yeah. So I bet the next is not. Okay, ukiwa mbele yako.
Ingine itakuwa ni maswali zitaulizwa hapa, then nitajibu tujue ama tunaendelea vizuri.
Watanisaidia hapo ndio tuweze kujua kama tumeshika kila kitu ama ili tuweze kupata ile vitu kwa tumesema mwanzo sisi and for us even to be able to champion for the strength of these all hidden voices in terms of give you positive feedback about the region, because generally present kwa NGOs and the government policies wakati tunataka kusema kwenda hiyo budget for a hospital. Tunauliza hizi maswali so that we have them written, we can use them maybe in future to do a defense for serikali, this is why we did this. Unaona, na pia kuenable pia sisi kupata feedback ya what next we need from here, what questions we do and ensure we are answered, because sure on a social media accounts we need like mtu anaweza password kwa majority of us on smartphones can go and salad for social media, at least kwa site tunaanza na site all of these we can have social media accounts, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, tutapata kuna hizo topics za anxiety for at least 1 week, 2 weeks. From there we go to another topic. At least we try to educate people, we have stories about these people. That is why we do this as well. You can see upon them anything you have had interaction with the person with anxiety. Not from the whole thing anxiety. Maybe one from this feeling what are the few and every types of behavior. Then after measure on how are we going to start like moja unaweza sema ile nakwamba paranoid sana. How do you discover that then what are the things that you do to distract yourself in action? Naona naweza kuwa nimeona kosea just overthinking. So how what are the things to distract yourself from how you go Mungu atasema wacha ni approach mtu anajua vizuri ndio utamaa. So those are some of the few questions. What other ways do you think help you when you are feeling anxious? Then when I find the what are your lived experience? Have you cared for someone or yourself? It's a connection because we are a community and all these things are part of it. So kuna mtu akona hiyo experience. If you are willing, unaweza sema yes, I've had that experience. No, I've not had that experience. Maybe very much that we have knowledge. That we're able to have such an experience. Also have a way of getting in touch with the same people next time. Yeah, so on those 5 questions, maybe you please come up with your response. Then so rather than keeping you at the club, what you can do is can just keep up the hand. And that's what see our video of 5 questions. You are seeing on our way, one as we stop just so like come up and just easy and on my end in the first na kwa wale wanashangaa ni kwa nini tunachukua video kwa sababu kuna wale Kenya na because we are registered in both Kenya and UK. So kuna wale ambao wangeweza kuwa na sisi hapa ofisi kati so that site na pia that channel using it to tell stories. Kuna mtu anaweza taka kushare story moja kwa hiyo. Kuna mtu anataka kuandika kwa article. Twitter is there for us, Facebook, Instagram. Pia YouTube unaweza taka we just have that one conversation but we must activate that is doable here. The video just another use of that. Wana interview mtu anapeana story about but hiyo ni lazima tupate concept ya hiyo story. We have those folks but I feel their concept tunataki au kupea story sawa pana kuna side area hata government ikiuliza waya hiyo unaweka story wake naweza wanashana hiyo focus ali concept naweza wanashana hiyo form ya article ya hapa fulani ya concept au mental health in every hospital and everywhere. It's got a process So that is the reason. Here to encourage later on, follow our channel, our Twitter, our Facebook, our Instagram, all these social media channels are to follow. That is where we bring our stories. The final thing I'm going to is a white table. White table is where you come and share your story. Like I said, for the awareness, like I said, there's one hour, one hour. I am tentative. As a man, I want to share my story. I want to talk about it, get help, get information on how to start my journey out of it. So that way, table is where you freedom just to start, judge, and what to do. The role as in soul, we are coming there as to seek the best knowledge of ourselves. Rather than you and you and just so hatuna mahali ya kukaa ikiwa itakuwa just we are done. Are you going to about how we want to do? So that is the white table. So for now, maybe one has a one has a raised mkono if you try one side of the questions in that. Questions. What did you learn? Number 3, something that you can do to distract yourself or you have to think. You
can tell us something you learned. You can tell us something you have not yet learned. Yes.
I don't know. Thank you so much. Firstly, thank you to you and the coordinators for hosting us. All right. So I was thinking of take number 4. The next thing. So number 4 is what other ways do you think are helpful to help you when you're feeling anxious? So this feeling of anxiety, sana lazima iko kwa even you yourself. There are situations where it could be your place of work. It could be there are a lot of things you have to do with very specific timelines and you need to have results. So for my own personal experience, what I try to do is whenever an immediate thought comes or the activities I want to do for the day is to have a to-do list planned out. So either you can write it down, put it in your diary, or send yourself a message on your phone, like this is my to-do list for today, so that you feel you're not forgetting something. And also try to allocate enough time by either proper time management or wake up a little bit early so that you're able to execute the goals of what you want or the agendas you put on your to-do list. That feeling of anxiety kind of goes away because you feel ukiamka mapema niweza kupanga my time vizuri, and therefore by the time if at all your work as well you deal with the kazi iko na timeline sana, kama unaweza kufanya proper time management you feel akiweza kufanya vitu mapema na sitaweza kukimbia yako mwisho. That would be my suggestion for number 4. Sisters. After them.
Yeah, I think for number 1, do you think you have had interaction with a person with anxiety? And well, anxiety is part of our life, but I think what we are looking here is when it is affecting your life or the other person's life. So I think what I have learned and I'm taking from it, so many people, there are the people within our families and the people who are going through some kind of anxiety is at times they lack people to listen to them in a judgmental attitude. And that makes them not able to even share what is their fears, their worries, and all that. What I'm taking from what I watched the that me who has or who is interacting with somebody with anxiety, they need first of all to understand that every day that I get from people but I think the biggest problem we have about anxiety is that people don't listen and really listen to them with a non-judgmental attitude. So I think this forum is very good for each and every one of us. Yeah. Both the young, all of us, both the families and also the schools. So I think it is we're very trying to have a community that is healthy. I think this is the forum. We need to bring more. How we can assist ourselves from a family setting, from a schools, we need to interact with anxiety. At times we don't help them come out of the anxiety. We may even worsen the situation.
Okay, I go by the name Joey. From my side, there was a question about what are the things that you do to distract yourself from an every day? So this is what I do. There comes a times that you can perhaps from school or from church or from someone else. That's what you try to do. Or do you have an hobby? Like, I like writing poems and short stories, so that is where it is. I like reading novels and newspaper magazines, so that is where I just so that I can keep myself occupied, so that I cannot think sitafikiria anything and everything. So if you have a hobby and try doing that and you'll see that you distract yourself. So that's what I have.
Say something on number 5. What are your lived experience yet for someone or my experience in mental health has been a tough one. I happen to have a thyroid. My thyroid is underactive, a condition called hypothyroidism. And this is something that is very connected with how you feel, how you think, how all those things. So this has really affected my relationships, people around me, my children, my husband, my sisters, my brothers, my parents. And it has also affected my work life because sometimes I feel I'm just overwhelmed. Sometimes I just feel I can't do anything anymore. So sometimes I find like that I've dropped from work. Unajikuta you opt not to go in a working environment or such. And about caring for someone else still, we do have actually really agree with the data you give. We interact with someone with mental health every day, like knowingly or unknowingly. So I've had issues with even my own son, who was slowly getting into depression and noticed by everyone until one day the school calls me and tells me, "You're expelling your son from school. What has he done? Sleeping in class." Then I was like, I'm a parent, I'm home. What do I have to do with a child who is sleeping in class? You are the ones who are there. That kind of a thing. But again, because I'm quite aware of how mental health manifests and how they affect, especially the young ones, I had to take it by the horse, and I the bull by the horse and took my son to hospital for mental treatment. He underwent counseling, several sessions, and then God is okay now. So it's a call to all of us. Let's support each other because this really determines how we relate to the school. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Francis. I would like to react, not answer, reaction of
Question number?
Number 5.
5.
The unhelpful or irritating experience.
Yeah, what are your living experiences with mental health? Have you cared for someone or you yourself? Me mwenyewe tangu nizaliwe, mental health nimekuja kuirealize in campus and after campus. As a child, as a teenager, you never thought about mental health, which I think is a social problem that is in our country. Also, venye mmesema, the only mental health yenye tunajua ni ametizi, crazy. And I think from now on, you can't afford your word. I realize it's a negative word to someone. Saying it out loud, because you're supposed to give help to that person. ukiwa na melala hapo nje unapatia labda blanket, which is something that I don't know much. Thank you for the forum.
Good afternoon.
Personally, I can talk about fight. Living with individuals suffering from mental health, it's quite difficult to get to know or to identify that individual. Mostly in our community, we get to know that person after it has hit its apex, as in the who am I? But I have a friend who probably, I believe the issue came about, when you live a certain status in life. Let's say, for example, you're employed, and then the job, you lose the job, and then you have to come back to the community, to the streets, where you have to adapt to how people live in the streets. That situation gets very difficult. Actually, for some people, it leads to murder. And that individual I'm talking about came to a point where his perceptions towards people, to what people think about him, became so negative that people easily judge even before he talks to him. He believed that apparently whoever he interacted with came to a point where kind of developed some negative attitude towards him. Since he believed that people saw the negative in him, alikuwa na ndoto akasota. Now everybody was like, nini happened na maisha yako? So he ended up drinking a lot of drugs, and to get an individual from that point to get him back to where he's supposed to be, it becomes very hard. At this point, actually, he's a friend of mine, and he has gotten to a place where it's difficult even for the parents to relate to whatever he's saying. Apparently, as of now, I do not believe he has any friends. I, being among his closest friends, we somewhat drifted from each other. And to this time, he has gotten into use of very hard drugs at a point where unaona tu ukimwangalia hivi amepotea. That's the social stigma that came from. Kitambo everybody used to look at. Actually, he was a role model, but since he lost his job, he was strict. It became so broke that now everything he does has a perception that everybody is judging. So even in engaging in a simple conversation with him, you may end up quarreling over nothing, just because he has some intuition. What do I call it? He has some thought that you could easily judge him, especially if you know him before and after. I'm happy this forum is here because as of now, I believe I have a responsibility to kind of get him to where he was. As of now, I'm there. And I believe question number 5, caring for someone suffering from a mental health issue is very difficult. You don't know where to start. You may try to approach him, just guide him or provide some insight on how he can make his life better. But instead, you may end up arguing in the sense that he may see as if you're judging. It gets difficult. And I pray that I hope that we will have more of this one so that such issues, they are there in our society. We may not know them. Actually, it's hard to know them until it hits to a point where it's beyond repair. Thanks.
I think happy for your contribution, because it is a sign that at least we said something. We may have not said much, and this is just the beginning. But your response your responses are also making us have an idea of what we should concentrate on next. That number 5 has very many. I am also in number 5, and in a big way. And I think when I hear people volunteer to say the same, I'm also encouraged. And it is this kind of talking and this kind of exercises that has made me able to continue to enjoy life, talk to others, and accept life as it is. And I would also say, her coming to me, I said, no, invariably I used to be a counselor. Now I'm referring now to the case of anxiety and whatever problems that you encounter when you talk early enough. I became close to her because she used to be in my counseling office to talk about herself and her feelings. And you can see how far she has gone now to becoming so many years later. She is what she is. So these kinds of talks usually help. Now, in my case, my number 5 ni vijana wangu. Na wale mmetoka Githurai mnawajua. They are bipolar. We shall come to talk about those conditions and understand how it operates. And one of them is serious bipolar because even bipolars are several types. And we move with them along their ups and downs. Wako wamesimama wakati mmoja, ile nilisema good speak. The next time, sister knows one of them who usually comes to her, and he is happy that his sister understands him. And like you are saying, they usually think other people judge them. But once you develop closeness and demonstrate understanding in our place, they are very good. And it makes them, and they live one day at a time. So even if your friends do one day at a time. Now, and even others' depression. I have a daughter who has depression. The brightest of my 4 children suffer from depression. She's in UK, she knows her. And it has taken her, well, one of them is very successful and looks focused. The other one gets depressed, and I brought them under the same environment, with the same love, but they came out different. But we still work with all of them. So as we are saying, we have experiences, but it is important to know how to deal with them. With the boy, the youngest one, even in Asema, ako very much into bipolar, amekuwa mpaka addicted. Na unajua sasa akiwa na addiction ya pombe, inakuwa sasa ni double the problem because pombe itself triggers, it triggers psychotic episode. Kwa hivyo wakati amekunywa pombe inatrigger hiyo condition ambayo anakuwa nayo. Condition inaweza kuja hata kama hajakunywa pombe, lakini wakati anakunywa is either very jolly or very very violent. Now the latest one that I feel I should share, ndio tu encourage, ni ya mwanafunzi, a former mwanafunzi but a doctor, a medical doctor with buried last week. That one I have to share. And remember we said she's also the force behind our determination to revive the voices and do something. This is a girl that I also bonded right from high school. That time I took her in Form 2. Bright, and I don't know why mental cases or mental problems usually come to those that are very bright. She was so bright that I think I can say here that she had dropped out because of lack of space. Akiwa Form 2, she was only 16 kwa sababu kalikuwa kanapita vizuri sana. Alikuwa 16 years old, kakaenda kakaolewa. I came to know she was married because she was chased from school and I was not there. When we had kameoleka, na kalikuwa the only one from Nyandaru in the national school here. My principal was a sister, and I feel so happy whenever I'm interacting with such. The principal at that time was a nun. So aliniambia tuende huyo mtoto. Tukamwendea kwenye alikuwa ameolewa. Kumrudisha shule hakuna mtu alijua alikuwa amefanyika. She picked very well. I took her in. Kwa hiyo kutoka wakati huo alikuwa sasa mtoto wangu wa 5. Alisoma vizuri, akapita vizuri, akaenda Russia. Akafanya medicine 7 years. She came back very well. But her mental illness. Remember what we said about hereditary. when you're predisposed towards a mental condition, there are some medicines that you're not supposed to use, alcohol or something, and you only come to know about it when it is too late. Yeye ameletwa damu tu na dawa ya uchungu inaitwa tramadol. Hiyo tu ndio ilikuwa addicted na imemchanganya akili. A medical doctor in Machakos Level 5 Hospital, a young girl, she ended up at the Life Bridge hapa, Life Bridge kwa watu wakasimama in April. We were with her as she was there trying to recover, and eventually she passed away 2 weeks ago. A medical doctor with only one child. Anatuziana, anapatia watu prescription, anakwambia 1 times 2, na alikuwa amefika kiwango, alikuwa na meza 8 or 9, mpaka anasinzia, anashikwa na fits. And then she told me, you know, I don't know why. Si hata ni Mungu ananipenda, niko hai. Imagine, nilikuwa nimechukua 9. A medical doctor mental, kwa hivyo ilikuwa imemshanganya. Alikufa last week. And we buried her on Friday. We were with her, which was her classmate. So when we talk about lived experience with mental health, you know where it pushes people to. And we are losing so many important people, and especially the young ones. We want to learn how to live with them, because we may not be able to get rid of the problems, but we can assist by knowing how to live and support those people experiencing mental conditions. And I think with that, unless there is any other question, sasa tumesema, Dani umesema